What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared?
Hello, weirdos out there in weirdo land. Yeah, we have a late start, and it's not because Beckett was late. Beckett was
One
here
day
on
I was
time.
feeding Allie.
Oh my gosh. We have been having technical problems tonight, and Vicki informed me right when she walked in the door because I could tell her energy and my energy matched today. Something was off. I've had a shitty week this week. Vicki, you had a shitty week this week. Dennys, you kind of said your week has been a little off too.
It has.
And I asked Beckett. Beckett said he had a good week, but Vicki, you said there was a full moon tonight.
Yes, there's a full moon tonight.
I swore the last time we had technical issues was on a full moon.
I mean, that's totally possible.
So let's get into that.
I
Full
get
moon.
it, man.
Are we believers that the moon controls our moods? Does it sway how the universe fucks with us, Vicki?
I mean, from a scientific standpoint, look at what it controls, that we can prove it controls. And there's a lot of studies. But think about poor teachers. We just had Valentine's Day on Monday with all that candy on a full moon week. So everybody needs to hug a teacher this week.
Is that because the kids can just be little devil children?
Oh, they're off the chain.
Do you ever, and you don't have to answer this, but is there ever a time when you are in class where you just want to look at the kids and say, can you just shut the fuck up?
Oh, that's what I want. Instead of giving me a raise, I want one day where I could say whatever I want to the kids and the parents.
Oh, geez.
That's how it got when I coached baseball, and I loved coaching little kids. I loved it. I had such a passion for it. And boy, oh boy, there's always something out there that wants to beat that passion out of you, kind of knock that spirit out of you. They're called parents, Beckett. And there's awesome parents out there, of course. It's like we've talked about it here on the podcast. It's a few insects can fuck up so much grain,
right?
And that unfortunately can happen sometimes. But teachers are so funny when they're away from everybody and they can be real. It's quite amusing.
Because there's several times during the day I literally have to close my mouth. I let Jesus take the wheel, and I just walk away. I blink at the child a couple times, like this, and then I just walk away.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily love my job, but I want to keep it.
Yeah.
So, I just walk away.
Sometimes you just gotta walk away, Beckett.
Yeah.
Beckett, does the moon mess you up at all?
I used to not really think about it, but then I got into boating, so I had to become very familiar with the tides and how it affects that, and then then you start to learn about king tides and moons and all that. So I think it's reasonable as the skeptic to think that if it can move large masses of bodies of water, as powerful as that is in Mother Nature, then for sure it can have some kind of effect on humans, for sure.
And someone wrote me an email, and I'm kind of off the top of the dome about Beckett always calling himself the resident skeptic. He goes, you want to start out as a skeptic, but you're just like one of those fucking 4 or 3 weirdo hippies like Vicki, Dennys, and Bird now.
Yeah, it's all relative. It's just relative to you guys, right?
Yeah, you're skeptical light.
That's right.
I think I had him by episode 3.
Yeah, you guys.
At the most.
You guys have definitely
He had already turned.
pulled me over for
now,
sure.
the guy that emailed, he didn't stutter as much as I did when I was telling that, but you got the gist.
Yeah, 100%.
And Dennys, moon, yeah, pie or the mood, either one. Topic?
It probably affects everything. I just probably you don't think about it, so you don't correlate it. But, it affects tides and water, and if we're predominantly made of water, then it probably does affect us to some degree, right? And the term we've talked about before, lunatics, comes from people's who have gone crazy from the moon.
Oh, wow.
They claim murders go up during a full moon. Murders.
You can see better in the dark, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's wow. That would be a amazing thing if someone said, "I can see better." What a creepy line that would be. Why did you kill? Oh, it's a full moon. I can see better.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like
It'd be the night to go hunting for sure if you were a night hunter.
It's very Dexterish.
Yeah.
And do you have something to add, Vicki?
But not for, surprisingly, I haven't found that it's beneficial for ghost hunting. I think it's too light. I think that you have to have a certain amount of darkness First of all, to make it a little more atmospheric. But I have found that I don't get quite as much evidence on a full moon.
Is that because the spirits feel like it's too cliche? Like, this is so hack.
I don't know. Or it could be that it's just their goal may not be 100% to be seen. And when there's a full moon, it's lighter out and there's more of a chance that we might get a glimpse of them. I don't know. It's all theory.
In our segment, Ask Vicki, let's just get to that right there, because there's a question I kind of jotted down for myself, and it was more about angels. We've talked a little bit about angels on here. Do you ever see angels when you go on?
I cannot say that I've ever seen anything that I would call an angel.
Have I asked you that before?
Probably, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't recall us talking too much about angels.
Yeah.
And there is a whole sector of people that really are into angels like how we are into ghosts. And I think that's awesome. I'm not at all denying that. My question to you was, do angels and ghosts, are they working in tandem? Could you argue they're in the same kind of world?
You could, in a way. I mean, angels are supposed to have never been living. They never walked as a living person here on earth. So they're completely from heaven or the other side, or however we want to look at it. Whereas, you missed the moment.
Oh,
Did everybody get to see it?
I was getting ready to...
Beck's getting parched.
Yeah.
Denny's went for it.
I let the camera so people
We
can
had to
see
have
it.
Sweet Denny's open my Guinness. So had to wet one more whistle. Sorry.
With his teeth.
Go on, Vicki.
Anyway, so human spirits actually were human beings. They, were alive here on the planet. So that's one of the distinctions, is that one is human, the other one is not, and never has been. I think absolutely there may be some situation where a human spirit is not able to intervene enough because of their lack of ability, and an angel might come in and assist.
And I apologize for my disrespect. I forgot to give Vicki her theme song. It's time for Ask Vicki.
No, like
And I was so glad you missed it and
No,
forgot it.
no. We gotta every week. It's just gonna get bigger, stronger. Can a ghost die and then be a ghost of a ghost?
I've never seen that
Is
because
that
they're
possible?
already dead.
Is that possible? Is that now? Is that a stoner question? That is not my question. That's Alan from Pot St. Lucie.
I can't imagine. That would be redundant. They're already deceased.
Okay. Sorry, Alan, but Vicki thought that was a really dumb question.
Jason said that, not me.
Well, speaking of full moon, this has never happened. Half of my iWatch, top of it, just disappeared. It was working the whole way here, and the whole top of it, like from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, just disappeared.
Well, now that we're talking about all this stuff, my TV, which is a new TV, it has not been working all day today.
So weird.
I'm not even kidding you. It's been figgity fucked in this place when it comes to the electronics and I would say the last 24 hours. Now, when it comes to full moon, is there residuals tomorrow of weirdness?
I mean, the moon technically stays almost completely full it just fades out, like it just gets smaller. So I would imagine the effects are more than just that singular time period where it's 100% full. I would imagine you still have some influence from it. But, here at your house could also be spirits, not necessarily that we're dealing with the full moon doing all these things.
Coincidental.
Very good add-on, Dennys.
Yeah.
The other question we got for Ask Vicki, this is from Devin. Can a ghost ever come back in human form? And I read the email, and it was pretty lengthy. And from what I gathered from it, for example, I'll kind of do it as an example. Let's say I die. How quick, first of all, does it take for me to turn to spirit form, typically, when a human dies?
When a human dies, as soon as your body no longer is viable, then you are in spirit form. I believe that people, when you first pass, I believe people physically stay in their spirit body for 2 weeks. People go around and they make visitations. Most people, if a loved one has passed, you're going to have a lot of activity those first 2 weeks. And then after the 2-week period, I think you transition to the other side, and then from there you get your freedoms and your assignments on what you're supposed to do.
Danny, what do you think about this?
It's so you're saying for 2 weeks you're here. Would that be like kind of, you see that movie Heart and Souls? You ever see that movie with
Long time ago.
Are you talking Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah,
Dennys,
because
of course.
he stays until his business is done
Right.
and then passes on. So I mean that seems to be a pretty popular concept for going.
It
through.
can, and people can stay a little bit longer. 2 weeks is just a general guideline, and I've actually been able to track with certain cases that it was active in the home for 2 weeks, and then all that dissipated.
Now, okay, let's say I die, the spirit immediately, goes around. Can you be a ghost and then come back into the human body and come back to life with tales of being a ghost? We always talk about a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Near-death experience, to me, feels different because it's almost as if you're going to another dimension or another side, where if you become a ghost on this plane or a spirit on this plane, you at least have a memory of that, no?
I mean, I think what you're talking about would have to be a near death. If the person is declared dead and then at some point is resurrected and they go back into their body, that's a near death. I don't think that's, hey, I'm chilling as a ghost for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden they figure out what's wrong with me and put me back in my body.
Angels, spirits, whatnot, Beckett. We talk of these subjects. You hear an opinion from Vicki as the resident skeptic, light skeptic.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
Well, I actually had a very similar question. So, she has the 2-week rule. I was wondering, like, if someone doesn't have any brain activity, let's say, and they're in a coma for 6 months, let's just say, is it possible for the spirit to actually temporarily leave the body and come back, you think?
Well, anything's possible. I very seldom, shoot any idea because none of it's written in stone. I have been able to communicate with people in comas.
Wow.
So, and I was there, where their body was and communicating with them, and they were still in their body as they were communicating. But that's just my experiences. I don't pretend like I know everything.
Let's say this is not even an Ask Vicky question. This is kind of off the top of the dome from me. Let's say me and you every Thursday night, because you've said that I could possess some abilities, and we know that you do. If me and you practice trying to communicate, no text, no texting, no phone. Could we communicate with our minds with each other through psychic, some kind of communication, and know we're trying to reach each other?
It's possible. We would have to figure out exactly how to tap into that particular brain feature.
What are you doing tomorrow?
But it's definitely, listen, there's so much that we are capable of doing that we don't, just because we don't know how to use it. Like, when you get like some fancy TV and all you do is like turn it on and off because you don't want to mess with all the different features. That's our brain.
Yeah.
We have all these different features that we do not mess around with, and we don't know our potential.
While we're asking Vicki, one of the things that I was always curious about, that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, twins.
Oh yeah.
Is that possible? They almost had like some kind of connection even before, if I remember the movie, before they even knew they were brothers, right? From afar, they almost had like a certain connection. Do you think that's possible?
Well, a lot of people talk about you can have your soul flame or your soul mate, or people who believe in reincarnation will say that in a past life you had some type of connection with that person, and then when you're here again you feel familiar as soon as you meet them because of that past life connection.
All right, Vicki, before the podcast is over, you have to make sure you mention a 80s movie, and I have to, because Dennys has already got one, and Beckett's got one too.
You already know what mine is. Let's do some telepathy.
No, you just said it.
Oh yeah,
Twins.
That's not the one I'm thinking of.
But
though.
twins, and yeah, let's
Okay.
let's
Heart
try
and
to
Souls.
let's try to do an exercise right now, Beckett. Vicky's gonna ask us to both try to come up with the same answer. She's gonna ask us a question. What do you want? Me and Beckett, we have to try to read each other's minds.
So
here.
you can say like a type of animal.
Whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then I have to guess what he's thinking.
We both, yeah.
Okay.
Guess what each other's thinking.
Exactly.
All right. What is... I gotta think of something because you guys hang out, so I gotta think of something that you wouldn't already know.
Bring that heat. I want to see this experiment. I want to tap into you.
We'll do something real easy. We'll start with something easy and we'll work our way
I
up.
cannot wait to tap into Beckett.
That's what she said.
All right, we'll start easy. Favorite color?
Now, here's my question. Is it really our favorite color, or are we both trying to...
No, really think about what your favorite color is, and then
I mean, I got mine.
You got
But
yours?
I got mine.
Can you read my mind, Becky? What is it?
It's gonna sound easy because of what you're wearing, but I was gonna say green.
Yeah, you do not know. Man. You're terrible at reading minds. Yours is blue.
It is blue.
I know. I can fucking feel it. I feel it, dog.
It is blue.
I can literally see it on you.
Interesting.
That was a fun experiment.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure if
was.
it was for the audience, but we had a good time.
That's
No?
because you have psychic abilities. I'm a skeptic.
I think we all have psychic abilities, but I also think we're all skeptics too. I am a skeptic of the psychic world, not of people like Vicki, because I've had real experience with Vicki. I'm skeptic of people in general, and everybody should be.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Anybody that is gonna be given their full-on opinion of what they believe the way of the world should be, or how, I think you should be skeptical of that. And if you happen to line up with what they line up with, that's great.
It's healthy. I mean, I'm doing research, and you're all peer reviewed as all of your peers in your industry being skeptical and trying to poke holes. It's literally called defending your dissertation. And as many problems we have at the press, what I believe to be something good in terms of the thrust of what they do is an adversarial press. They're not supposed to give Mickey Mouse layup questions. They're supposed to ask tough questions and be adversarial. I think it's healthy to question.
A quick technical question. I would like to welcome the chat room here.
Yes.
I think we had some more technical problems. And I was wondering why we only had like 11 people
So
here.
there's been a lot of confusion. In fact, if you've noticed, I've been kind of bouncing around trying to figure out what it is, but somebody just said it, which is fantastic. But remember how we started the podcast and then everything crashed?
Yes.
Well, so it went live then, but nothing was on. Everything was unplugged. Remember?
Oh, were we talking live?
No, that's why I got
So-
a text because someone's like, "Are you ghosting? We're waiting for
So
you."
they're in a room sitting because it shot up into the atmosphere and then everything in your room shut off at the same time.
Well, I got to give a double apology. I want to give an apology to the chat room for waiting. We were not trying to set you up for the big dance. I apologize. We drove right by the house on prom night and threw eggs at the house. That was not our intention. And now I also want to say sorry to the people who are just listening to this on audio who don't give a fuck about the chat room and that are annoyed that I'm talking about the chat room.
Yeah.
You can't win, Dennys. But guys, thank you for being with us. You weirdos. You all look beautiful, I'm sure.
Yes, I think a lot of the party has arrived because of that.
So they missed the beginning parts.
So
just go back
it
and
still
listen.
lives, yeah. It's just we had to start a second one, so we decided since it was kind of like a weird thing that happened, which we think maybe is related to the
First
full
12 minutes
moon.
was great fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely go back, relive it.
Yeah.
But
In fact, we're going to do the whole thing over right now. No, we're not. Yeah, we were just doing some Ask Vicki. We'll give you one more Ask Vicki so that they can at least get a little taste of
okay,
that.
for sure.
Ask Vicki, how long after... Oh, we already covered that. I apologize. I think we already covered all of them. Sorry, chat room.
Well, one thing I'm going to add, you were talking about exercising, your psychic ability. What's interesting is one of the tests that you give to see if someone might possibly be demonically possessed is to hold up the series of cards. If a person guesses more accurately, they are more likely to be demonically possessed because as a human being, you should not be that accurate as to what symbol is on the other side of that card.
Gotcha.
And that's just one of the tests that you give to eliminate, demonic possession.
So the fact that he guessed my color means
He might be possessed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely absurd. Your color's blue. What are you talking about? Here's a one of those deep questions. Do you believe... Or do you all believe the universe was born from nothing? That's one of those oh shit questions, The universe. What was here before this all started? Beckett. That's
Time and space.
That's all I needed.
It actually it makes my mind just explode trying to think about it.
I hate it. I hate it and love it at the same time.
All we know is that, well, what scientists know that study it is that the universe or our solar system and the universe at large is they can measure that we're continuously expanding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they deduct scientifically that it was all condensed at one time.
And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, as it's ever expanding, isn't it still spitting out planets and all kind of stuff that we can't even get to, that, or that's at least what we think is happening out there. As it's getting bigger and getting bigger, more stuff is just showing up out there.
Yeah, I think the answer is we don't know. Even the experts say that they don't know. We still are trying to learn about black holes. You know, like, do black holes, are they another dimension? What happens when you come out the other side?
Where are you at with dimensions? Other dimensions?
You know, I tend to listen to people that are way smarter than me. And my understanding is that to a certain level, Einstein believes in time travel and dimensions and all that. So it's like one of those things, whether we're talking about faith or anything or ghost, until you actually see it, it's hard to believe it. But you also can't disbelieve it until you don't know it exists.
For real.
You know, so I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, all we can do is ponder the question and hope that people smarter than us that are studying it eventually find an answer.
Where are you at with all that, Vicki? I mean, the spirit world to me is almost like a different dimension, or a parallel universe, so to speak.
Yeah, that's about the limits of my imagination. Is that I can't fathom beyond that. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying me personally, I can't look beyond. I already got 2 worlds going. So I don't need to add if there's like another and another.
Well, what
it's
is
too
that?
much for me.
I mean, would that mean that if there's another, dimension or a parallel universe, is there a Jason Pennington in that universe doing a whole different kind of life? Is that what people are?
If it's a parallel universe, then yeah. Or, it's a different parallel dimension or whatever.
You're a pro baseball player in the parallel
But
universe.
I mean, is that what I mean? Let me guess. In every other life, there's something wonderful and magnificent.
Yeah,
you are now. So maybe the other universe, you're the opposite.
Like Beckett was saying, it's weird that a lot of scientists do support multiple dimensions. That seems to be a common thing in science now.
So people make fun of me that I always use or overuse analogies, because analogies help me
Damn, you heard us.
They exactly. They actually help me understand things, because you take something that is clear and understandable, and then you build a bridge for something that you don't understand. And what I would say about that is that whether it's the radio coming through invisible waves that are tuning into my antenna to an electric thing in my car that I actually can like bob my head to with beats.
Frequency waves are insane.
Or, things like I on this little square that goes in my pocket, I can order from Amazon or Uber Eats and food shows up to my house 30 minutes later. You can't see it, but it exists in the waves of the world, communication, data, all of those things. So who am I to say there's not a spirit on a certain level? There's certain whistles that only dogs can hear that I can't. So just because it's not within my perception of range doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That's exactly how I feel about, we always talk about the example of electricity. It was always there. The capability was there. We just didn't tap into it. What other stuff have we not tapped into yet? There's other stuff out there. There's got to be.
So scientists just did a test, and it was the first successful, and although it only lasts for a short period of time, they've basically figured out a way through nuclear fission to have a clean, perfectly clean, almost unlimited power source. And if you told people that 100 years ago, they're like, that's witchcraft. No way that exists.
It's witchcraft.
Well, technically, technology is magic. The fact that you can send wireless things out and have things happen. That's magic.
If this was medieval times, we'd all be stoned to death.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Well, to Jason's point, electricity, we always had what it took for it to exist. We just didn't know how to activate it. So we're still, and probably always will be, at a point where we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Damn. Becky getting deep.
All we know is that we don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that's what I've heard smart people say. The more you learn that you don't know.
Yeah, the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's 2 weeks in a row. Someone quoted a Don Henley song, and I appreciate that. You must unlearn what you have learned. What's that from, Beckett?
Star Wars.
Vicki, what's that from? Are you not? You're not. You hate Star Wars?
I don't hate. Don't put those words. Okay. There's a difference between hating and not being obsessed.
I can feel the hate.
No, I think I told the story. The only reason I ever saw the first Star Wars is because I went to see the Amityville Horror, and in the beginning scenes, the priest that comes over to bless the house, he throws up, and I have a phobia about vomiting. So when he did that, I was scared there was more vomiting in the movie, so I got up out of Amityville Horror and went and Star Wars was playing. So that's the only reason I saw it in the first place.
Oh, damn.
I love that story.
So you have a vomit phobia?
Yeah, I'm getting better, between kids and animals and stuff like that, but it was really, really bad when I was younger.
Watching it happen is the bad part, or seeing the results of it?
Everything about
All
it.
right,
Did you ever stop to think that maybe it was the Force?
That Guinness kicking in.
Those things are thick.
Oh, it's a thick one, Dennys.
Jeez.
It is a thick one. Well, I think with all this fun laughter we're having, it might be time for another round of
Dennys Random Facts.
Our sweet Dennys gives us a bunch of great factoids. Well, are they great? That's up to Vicki. She's our educator. If it is great, she gives him an A. If it sucks, she's been known to give an F, but more of the D.
Yeah.
It never sounds right when I say that.
No.
Dennys, you have the floor.
All right. Have you guys heard of this? In war times, significantly more boys than girls are born. It's called the returning soldier syndrome, and they can't figure out why it happens. They noticed it during the World Wars, and they did studies in multiple countries that were at war at that time, and all of them had the same exact results.
I'm blown away. But
I know. I mean, he's starting out the gate with an A.
That's an A.
They did
Wow.
some looking into it, and the only things they can figure out is two things. One was that women started taking more labor-intensive roles and boosted their testosterones, thus possibly resulting in maybe more male babies. That's one
Do
theory.
you know how you determine sex of a child?
I hear you. That's just one of the theories they got.
Well, that theory is stupid
the other one...
Yeah.
because it's the male that determines the sex of the child.
Are you knocking down
Well,
that
so
grade?
then the second theory is called the tall soldier theory. And what they say is that they noticed statistically that taller soldiers lived through war and shorter soldiers died. It was a weird statistic, so they think maybe taller men produced, I guess for some weird reason, male babies because they were the ones returning home from the war.
Well, how about this? How about we know that in the animal kingdom, mutations will adapt or things will develop on an animal because it needs it to survive. So maybe mentally that we needed more males to fight in the war, so more male sperm were created.
Yeah.
So
Dennys,
that's,
very
I mean, the
possible.
other one is that it could be any theory. They're trying to think, I guess scientifically it was the only two they came up with. But yeah,
Well, they
the other
didn't call
theory
me,
is that you
so.
need, spiritually you need more male soldiers, I guess, for the battles.
Yeah.
I love it. As you were, Dennys, we have a bit of an issue in
We had
the...
a spammer, I shut him down.
Oh, thank you very much. Try to keep a fun, friendly atmosphere.
Well,
here.
There's still
I'm
some people waiting in the empty room, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I keep getting texts. There's a whole bunch of people waiting in the empty room.
Well, come on over, guys.
yeah,
Get the
join
message.
over. I
Come
didn't want
on
to
over.
shut it down just in case it messed up something.
That's what we call purgatory.
Dennys, you're on fire.
All righty, let's see here. Did you guys know that New York was briefly named New Orange? It was originally named, or it was briefly named New Orange because it was taken over by the Dutch, and it was named in 1673 in honor of William III of Orange, and then the next year they got it back. But randomly, for a year, it was called New Orange instead of, New York.
Interesting. I knew the Dutch part, but I didn't know the orange part. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was only 1 year. In fact, the term I looked up, I was like, well, so why did it become the Big Apple? I don't know if you guys know, so I just looked into it. And I guess John Fitzgerald was at a racetrack, and he overheard some of the guys, the stable hands, talking about how they were going to a big race they wanted to go to the Big Apple. They wanted to get the Big Apple. And he liked that phrase, and then he blew it up, making it, the Big Apple.
Wow.
It's great stuff. I mean, I don't know, Vicki.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like between A- and B+.
Make him work for it. I like it.
Yeah, make me
sing,
work for
sing
it.
for your supper.
Don't let my head get
Sing
big.
for your supper, bitch.
Yeah, I need to sing for my supper. So let's bring it down a notch.
Okay.
As far as where I feel like
We're
this
having too
one-
much fun?
Those are too good. Let's bring it down a little. Let's make it a little filthier. So this I just thought was crazy. So remember how everything was rated X? You had the MPAA introduce the X rating for anything they thought was too obscene or not suitable for children. They introduced it in 1968. But then did you ever notice that the movies that came out were called NC-17? They weren't rated X.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering why, but the reason is because they never trademarked rated X. So porno companies saw that and they thought that was cool and they started blasting it on all of their stuff. Well, all the way from 1968 to the 80s, that X rating meant it was a porno film. So none of the theaters would look at any film that had an X rating on it. It was hurting the X rating so bad that they came up with a new system. They had to change it completely. And this one they trademarked, NC-17. But that's why they don't use X ratings on... Is that weird?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm confused about the year though. Like, what happens at 17? You can't look at porn. You can't buy porn, right?
No, legally you cannot. It's
Right.
18.
But I
and
think when it's an NC-17 film, it means it's explicit.
it does.
Basic Instinct was NC-17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an explicit film.
Yeah.
Because of a few parts.
Well,
One part in particular.
I know what part we're
I
talking about.
would I would go with 2 parts in particular.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
For sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, weird.
Vicky, what do you
All
think?
right, he's still strong. That one, I like that one too. B plus.
Okay.
Nice.
We see you.
So, all right. So I was talking to Suits, and he used the expression, "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth." We've all heard that, and it's because I guess you determine the value of a horse by its teeth. It doesn't lie to you. And I was like, "How do you know that expression? That's such an old expression, right? Nobody ever gets horses except for Beckett over here, but us common folk don't get horses." And I looked up a bunch of old-timey expressions that we used all the time. I was going to run through a couple of these and see if you guys knew these.
Baby, you know I love an old-timey expression. If I like it, if I'm using them tomorrow.
Well, you guys have all heard "dress to the nines." Do you know what that term? We all know it means that you're dressed really nice and you're going somewhere. But do you know why that is the term for that?
No, but I'd love to know.
Dress
Tell
to
us.
the nines. Yeah, tell us, Dennys.
So it originates because it takes 9 yards of fabric to make a suit. And a lot of people couldn't afford a 9-yard fabric of suit, so they would get a 5 or a 6 or something. So if they were really spending and they were dressing really nice, they would be dressing to the nines. They'd use all 9 yards, have it like double stitched or whatever.
What do you think?
He's got more too.
I got a whole bunch I'm gonna go
Okay,
through
yeah.
for you
Doug,
guys.
bring it then.
So then you've heard the term "the whole 9 yards," which kind of piggybacks off of that one. They think it's either possibly the matching the fabric to the 9 yards, but they think it's more accurately that in World War II, pilots were given 9-yard chains of ammunition. So when they went the whole 9 yards, mean they emptied the entire clip. Are the two for those. This one I thought was really cool. So you've heard the term "don't let them pull the wool over your eyes." You're like, what would that be? You would think it may be a blindfold or something. Well, old wigs, when people wore wigs to show off status, were lined with wool. And when people would go to rob them, they'd pull them down over their heads and they'd rob their pockets. So you wouldn't let them pull the wool over your eyes. That means you're being robbed.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
Weird. This one's super popular. Mind your P's and Q's. Do you guys know what that refers to?
No, but my mom would say that all the time.
I hear it all the time, too. It says, mind your pints and quarts. Women would say that to their husbands as they were going out drinking with their boys, and they didn't want them coming home either arrested or beaten up from a bar fight. So they'd say,
I
mind
love
your
that
pints
one.
and quarts. Yes.
I like it. Can I have that Jack Daniels?
Yeah.
Denny's reminded me of minding my pints and quarts.
It's a little warm. Denny, these are great.
Yeah, I just thought-
I'm hungry for more.
I love it.
So the term "who let the cat out of the bag," you guys know what that refers to? So what they used to do is dishonest farmers would sell a whole lot of pigs and they'd put them in bags and they'd load them in the truck. A lot of the times, if they were being dishonest, they would stash cats or small animals in bags and put them in the truck and tell them that they put 10 pigs in the truck, but they really only put 2 pigs and 8 bags of cats. So if somebody let the cat out of the bag, they would know that they were being tricked because they would see what was in the bag.
What does it mean when someone says it's raining cats and dogs?
Oh, I didn't see
Don't,
that.
don't worry about that. I'm throwing you curveballs.
Don't
over
step
here.
in a poodle.
Oh, yes.
You're right. I love old timey sayings. I want to bring them back, especially some from the ragtime.
Yes. Well, so here, let's do, this is probably the last one I'll do for you because I thought this one was kind of cool too. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What an odd phrase, right? Well, it refers to the fact that back in the 1500s, the whole family would take a bath in the same exact water, and by the time you got through all the children to the baby, the water would be very cloudy and soapy and kind of gross. And a lot of times, if a mom wasn't paying attention, she could toss her baby out the window to empty out the bucket, and her baby would be in it.
Because it went in age order. So.
Yep, it went in age order. So imagine the parents get to bathe first, then it's the next oldest kid all the way down. You guys all have to use the same water.
Was it the podcast? Was it Weird and Whatever we talked about where babies used to be let out on the ledge?
Oh
Big
yeah,
Time?
they used to
Do you
call it.
remember that?
Yeah, it was called. It was a cage you would install in your window, and it was to weatherproof your child to make them tough. It was called. It was for a method of toughening up your child.
That
They
would
also-
fucking do it.
They also did it if your child was jaundice, so they could get some sun.
Oh, that makes sense too.
That I look at those pictures. First of all, it's old timey. It's creepy. But yeah, that would toughen up a kid, especially they put them out there. It's such a high building. Your kid's just out there walking around,
Oh, yeah.
crawling around as a playpen.
You know, I was getting ready in my head. I was thinking about, man, it's crazy what people used to do. But then I saw this thing a couple years ago. Remember when like sunning your butthole became like a big popular thing?
Sandy.
Beckett, everyone remembers that.
It was so stupid. You would think that would be something that happens in medieval times.
You're
you know?
right.
You know?
Hey man, trends they spread faster
Crazy.
now.
You mean people were legit bending over to the sun to get a tan in their butthole?
Yeah, supposedly like super healthy.
thinking like Raw was
benefits.
hooking you up or something?
Did we talk about? I mean, how did we miss that one? We had to have talked about.
We've
that.
talked about that many times.
Okay.
On KVJ and on this.
Black
Alright.
hole sun.
Here, I'll throw. This will be my final one. I forgot I had this one.
Bring it. I love it. Bring the quips back in. Bring the facts, Dennys.
This one's wild. So, mind your own beeswax means mind your own business, essentially. But where did that come from? So, the saying comes back from when smallpox was a common disease, and often people who survived smallpox were left with smallpox marks in their face and body, and ladies would fill these pock marks or blemishes with beeswax.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, in hot summer months, the wax can end up melting, and it wasn't considered polite to mention it to a woman, so the term mind your own beeswax came into play.
Interesting.
Worry about your own beeswax.
People do need to
How
worry about their own beeswax. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know if it's the Mick Ultra or
Rant.
the full moon,
Get
but
it.
I don't know. This was a really super strong week.
Oh yeah.
Denny's
Now,
went hard in the paint
Yeah.
Trying
tonight.
to bring the heat.
you brought the heat. We love you for it.
Right when we needed it.
Right,
Yeah.
Beck,
I'm back. There's a scammer's back. I got to block them. I didn't have the window up because I'm reading facts.
Dennys, let's play this weird clip. By the way, fantastic round, Dennys. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Let's get the. Did I send you the mom armpit clip?
Yeah.
There's a story out there. This is gross, so trigger warning. I'll let the woman kind of explain what's going on. This clip was going viral. I don't know. Maybe you guys heard it.
One day I was feeding Allie and realized her hair was soaking wet. Then I realized it was coming from my armpit. I thought I was just really sweaty, but then I noticed this huge lump. What the heck is that? So I squeezed it and milk squirted out. I went to the doctor thinking maybe I had a third nipple, but she said, nope, your milk line actually runs all the way up through your armpits.
What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I could see it. It's right there in the same area.
Vicki, you being the educator, have you ever heard this before?
No, thank goodness I have not.
Yeah, that's your weird clip of the week. Someone wanted to talk about, and we talked briefly about this on the KVJ show, about free will. Not free willy, as Virginia said, I think.
She did.
It says, Dear Weird and Whatever, do you believe everything is pre-planned, or do we have free will? Or are we just... Or are just some things pre-planned, but other parts are free will? I'd love to know what you all think on this matter. Stephanie from Fort Lauderdale. We talked about it today, and I kind of feel there might be, is it maybe both kind of working together? There's free will, but there's also maybe some things that are placed around you.
Right. I would say that some of the things that are already set are things that don't involve you making a decision. Like, I consider free will to come in when you're in a situation where you have to choose something. And so you have the free will to choose right or left, or something like that. So I think it is a combination. There's times where you're going to have to choose, and that's your free will part. But I think there's some things that are just like so mundane that they're already set for you. And I think whoever is in charge of everything ultimately knows what you're going to choose and what the end result's going to be, but they just sit back and watch and see what you do.
Beckett?
Mine's gonna sound stoner, but I believe this. So I think it's like a set of waves, like to a surfer. The waves are happening, whether you paddle out or not. That's the universe working. That's the universe working in its way. It's your decision. Do you paddle out? Do you catch the wave? Do you go right? Do you go left? Do you do a flip? Do you paddle back out? Do you come back into the beach? So I think it's a little bit of a combination of the two. But I'm definitely more of the belief you make things happen. I can sit at my bed all night and I'll get foreclosed on my house, or I can go out, I'm in sales. I don't have a salary. Like I actually have to wake up every day and get after it. And I know when I'm lazy, it doesn't translate into my business. When I'm motivated and I'm on it and I have coffee every morning and I get after it, like it translates. So I have every day of making it happen or making it not happen. But like the waves, I think the world is going to continue to go no matter what. So it's just how you react to it and what wave you catch or don't catch.
I am your density. I mean, destiny. What's that from?
Point Break?
That
No, we'll get to that movie next. Oh, come on.
damn it, I know. It's like,
Chat room, you guys, people, please. Vicky, you don't know that room? I'm your density. I mean, destiny. Oh, man. Anybody get this? All right, well, we'll leave it out there. It's from a very famous movie. Destiny. I'm just saying, just Destiny in
Good
general.
seg.
Yeah, the segue into Destiny. How do we feel about Destiny? Not the stripper.
So
that's where
Destiny
my mind was.
would be the opposite of free will, right? If something's
Yes.
destined to happen.
Exactly. Do you believe that?
It's tough, man.
You know,
I'm way more inclined to think free will is probably the way that every decision you make is an altering moment.
Vicky?
I think destiny was the part where I was saying there's certain things that are preset.
Yeah.
So I would call that the destiny part of it, and then you have the free will that comes in between.
Your destiny was to be a psychic medium,
Okay.
right? Don't you think?
Not necessarily, because I had the free will to develop the gift or to ignore it. So I don't think that's necessarily one that was a set path. To me, destiny would be like, okay, I'm part of the royal family. I'm going to end up being a queen one day. That's kind of, to me, that's kind of
Gotcha.
more the destiny part because I'm the royal family. But then when it comes to that time, if I choose to abdicate, that's my free will.
To me, it sounds like she's on board, pun intended, with my surfing analogy.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you have to make it. You have to make it happen.
yeah, because the wave is her psychic abilities, and she made a free will decision to catch that wave. But that wave existed as part of her destiny if she so chose it.
You see, in movies where, of certain events kind of bring two people together and it's this magical moment. Is that just a coincidence, or were they meant to have that moment? Were they meant to meet each other? Because you hear a lot of people say nothing's pre-planned, everything, or the opposite. This is such a topic where so many people believe such a different thing. Like Angie in the chat room, life is full of, or life is about free choices or a series of choices.
Yeah, so I'm going to make an admittance on the podcast, and I probably told you guys, one of my favorite movies, because it blows my mind, is Sliding Doors. You know Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, just like one little thing. Just her going down the steps on the subway one morning to work and missing the train and catching the train totally bifurcated her life into two totally different paths.
Well,
But I mean, that's free will. Then I mean, that's the tangents we're talking about.
Right.
That
It is.
decisions can take things.
no, you're right, but it also that if you go left or go right.
Well, I mean, that's an insignificant in that movie, especially. That's an insignificant change in her day that changes her entire course of her.
Yeah, I had a shitty day today. So my question is, let's say, because today I got in the car, I started pulling out, and then I forgot something. So I had to stop, get back in. Now, let's say I didn't forget something, and I just went along with my day.
Would it have been different?
I'm 8 seconds or 12 seconds ahead of what would have been. Yeah. Does that small little thing, did that set on a whole different series of events that would have been different if I would have just not forgotten something? That's always fucked with my head.
Yeah, the answer is it may not, but it very well could have, and that's like the annoying answer, like it really.
It is the annoying answer.
You could have sat at a light and had,
Yeah.
next business opportunity, girl interest, anything right next to you at the light based on you leaving 8 seconds differently.
Well, that's when those weird moments do happen where you feel like you're in a movie. You go, that was weird how that all lined up.
Yeah.
You ask yourself, is there something else working there?
Right.
But then, like we always ask, we ask it every week. If it's not that big of a deal, but it's still kind of that magical feeling, what's the point of it? Or is the point of it just to give you an idea of faith and hope?
Yeah, well, I think not to be cheesy, that's kind of the beauty that's life, right? Like if everything was just programmed as code and we had no free will, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Kind of the beauty of life is whether you decide to leave at 8:30 or 8:45 changes your life, potentially. Maybe it has no net effect, but that's kind of the interesting thing. Every day you wake up, the world's your oyster, You have challenges you can overcome. You have certain things, and it's how you react to life. Like, that's kind of the cool thing about life.
Did I tell you when my mom was a little kid, she was at this Rhode Island State Fair, and she was supposed to go on the roller coaster, and she didn't get on the roller coaster, and that thing crashed, and people got hurt. I think a few people died. She gets on there. It's different. Those small little.
We're not doing the podcast. If
Yeah.
one decision
Oh, geez. Yeah.
of getting on the roller coaster could have negatively, with a Weird and Whatever podcast wouldn't exist.
Well, you think about people who definitely go before their time.
Mm-hmm.
Just put that whole pool. That whole. Do you know what's there's definitely some talent in there that would have done remarkable things on the planet.
Civil War, World War I, World War II, of all the people that died, how many people didn't exist that could have broken NFL record, could have invented a clean power source?
Absolutely.
Could have created the next World War. You never know. Just by those things, they died in a thing, Like Back to the Future talks about that.
You bring up Civil War. Vicki, why is it just because Civil War is such a war that's such a popular war, and there's been so much reported on it with movies and just in the entertainment world, we kind of connect that to always ghostly. And if it's the Civil War, whatever, you assume that there's...
Well, it was fought on our land. So, and we were fighting amongst ourselves. So that makes it unique as opposed to some of the other wars that we were involved in.
But is it the story? Is it the...
I think it's the whole time period just sets a whole tone for these ghostly stories. And the fact is, there's a lot of ghostly activity that's connected to Civil War sites.
It just is. You think Civil War... In fact, anything from the 1800s, I just go, yep, ghosts.
Yeah. Those
Totally.
are prime for ghosts.
It's the most ironic oxymoron I've ever heard.
What?
Civil War.
Yeah.
What war is civil?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, brothers were fighting fathers, and
Cousins fighting uncles.
yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And
Dogs fighting cats.
talking about a divergent path that our nation could have took.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that could have been.
I mean, also too, on a historic level, reading about it and learning about it, it's just there's so much stuff that you go, wow. It keeps your mind constantly going, and it's interesting and fascinating and all of the buzzwords one would use.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, that was always one of the subjects in school, because I was one of those kids, Vicki. I would daydream a lot or doodle but there were certain topics and subjects, and Civil War and the Revolutionary War were always things I would always zone in. And I feel like anytime teachers would do something where they would make kids get up and present like a play or draw some cool shit or be animated and fun and not just reading the book, I always retained that kind of stuff the easiest. That still sticks with me nowadays. And I wonder why that isn't. Is that not allowed to be taught, or is that still taught in schools? That type of style?
Unfortunately, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but unfortunately, the school system is not what it used to be.
And that's what I'm asking.
And now everything is so dictated, and they have standards for children that are not academically appropriate for their age. And so I was just talking about this today. They have kids, they want them to reach a goal that's way up here when reasonably they can only get to here. And if they know they have to go that high, they just quit because they know they can't do it.
The things I'm talking about, do they not do that in school anymore? Where
It just depends on...
Are you allowed to in public school? If I wanted to go all Robin Williams, And, hey, kids, I got puppets, and we're learning about, protozoa and amoebas. And, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Am I going to get, what the fuck is this creepo doing?
It just depends on what school.
Dang.
Just depends on the parents.
Oh, yeah.
All it takes is one parent calling in and say, wow, that teacher's a wacko.
So are you a fan of Hamilton?
I haven't seen it.
What?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, because it's exactly what you're describing. It's a clever, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, it's a clever hip-hop way through Broadway to provide a context and a history lesson of our country.
Yeah, because not everybody learns probably that way. I think I'm more of a visual, you got to keep me entertained kind of person. And there's probably people who are more bookwormy that want to sit and, I don't know.
Not everyone wants to turn on a Ken Burns documentary on PBS.
But
I do every fucking time.
Kids want to be entertained. And I always, when I taught in a regular classroom, the first thing I said is like, I can teach you, or I can teach you and we can laugh and have fun. And you're going to remember us that same material better if we're laughing and having fun.
For sure.
Yeah, everyone always makes fun of me because I always bring up amoeba, euglena, unicellular organisms. Yeah. And the reason why I remember that, I learned that in 3rd grade. It's because they made me do this fun, cool
drawing.
I had to go to the microscope, look at all the shit, and then draw it. It was a big thing. You colored it. Fucking stickers were involved. Maybe even Pizza Hut. Pizza was a big deal back. Can you do pizza still?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
I think that's why dinosaurs do so well.
I love dinosaurs. I fucking love 44. I love dinosaurs.
But the kids have to have a connection. It has to mean something. I used to, instead of teaching our court system, I would wait for somebody to get in trouble in the cafeteria. So I'd pick up the kids from the cafeteria. They'd say such and such and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, we're going back to class. We're having court. I assigned lawyers. I assigned defense attorneys. I designed everything. So we had court in the classroom. I was the judge, and I showed them how the court system worked, as opposed to me sitting there and lecturing and having them read page 100.
That's great.
So,
yeah, and if you guys want to, I don't know, stay after tonight and do little charades, I'm totally in. I like a visual, Dennys.
I'm down for
I
charades.
hear ya.
Do you like charades?
I do like charades.
Am I the only lover of a game night?
I like game nights.
Nah, I think a lot of people like game nights.
All right, Vicki. See, that's why I'm asking. Not everyone loves game nights.
Game night to me is a little like karaoke. I can just tell you this from experience. I love karaoke. Everyone always fights me on karaoke, but usually it's my buddy that's fighting me the most on karaoke that's singing the loudest at the end of the night. You just have to break that barrier. A little beer helps, but you break that barrier, and once you get someone into it, they love it.
Oh, we used to do karaoke all the time. Game night all the time, too. Poker night's fun, too.
Yeah.
Let's see what the old chat room's saying. They got some good questions here. Vicki, dang it, the thing just refreshed. There's a good question there, and I wanted to ask you. Fuck this. This internet. Okay, Vicki, can there be more growth after we die? So essentially death matters, but also no?
of course, we have work to do on the other side. Definitely.
Do you know what your work is?
I have been told, this isn't what I haven't seen this for myself, but I have been told that my job when I get to the other side is I am going to be coming back here to convince earthbound spirits that they need to cross over, but it's not going to be, I'm going to like deal with hardcore criminals and trying to get them to cross over to the other side.
We're talking a Bundy.
Yeah. Yeah, that supposedly is what my job is going to be on the other side.
Now, according to what you believe, if you were to get that role, let's say you get a Bundy-like in there, are you assuming it's going to be tough to where they're going to want to resist you? And would you find and you obviously probably don't know this answer, but there's a spectrum. You'll get a person that's going to be like a real son of a bitch to deal with, or someone who's really, really evil, the evil you'd ever see, but wants to cross over and get right down to healing.
I've seen, I haven't crossed over serial killers, but I have crossed over a spectrum when it comes to people who were here. And this one particular guy, I remember when he first came through, he was wearing a leather jacket and he had these boots and all this other stuff. And he's like, I don't need any of this shit. I'm not going anywhere, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I started the crossing, because there was other people there, he was the first one to leave. And when he left, there was like this huge bang in the room. And what was interesting for people who think I just make this up, I described him to Bobby Joe, who was there, and we have an EVP of the little chains on his boots. So you could hear a man walking across the floor with boots with little chains on it, just like I had described So
I love it. That's great stuff.
I have another theory, just to go
Get-
off
get-
track
get
before
it.
I forget it. Okay, so we were talking about your crying man.
Yeah. The weeping man, if you haven't
Yeah.
heard, there's a weeping man in my kitchen closet.
So, and again, everything I say is just theory. I throw this out because nothing's been proven. So, I talked about it could be connected to like somebody who had lived here and some kind of domestic violence. How about this twist? You had a dream about, now his name just went out of my, Jefferson.
Maurice Jefferson.
Yes. You had a dream. What if it's him?
I'm open to that. I don't get it. You said domestic abuse last week, and I didn't want to challenge it. I don't get that feeling, and that doesn't mean you're wrong. I just don't get that. I would be more. That's the kind of I get more of a sad, not an angry or.
And that's why when I started reflecting on it, and then you mentioned your dream, I was like, wait a second, maybe for some reason he's here.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about Maurice Jefferson. If you guys ever see, and it's really weird because sometimes I don't see it in the news, and there'll be a kid missing in this area or in Broward or in Dade or whatever. If you guys ever see that, or if that ever happens in your family, please send that to me or Dennys. I'll always do my best to get that on the air. Because especially if that's a local story, we should be talking about that and getting that stuff out. And it amazes me how many of those stories just don't get reported on.
I was thinking about you guys recently. I was going to bring it up tonight because, they say, when a case goes cold after 48 hours, it becomes less and less likely to get solved. And we try to bring up, to your point, things that are still cold cases and whatever. Did you guys see the recent story about the girl that was missing for over 2 years and they just found her?
Yeah.
Was she the one hiding in the wall?
No, they had
under
her
the
under a
step.
stairwell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that just goes to show you, and the cops had searched the place and they thought something was apparently weird with the steps, and they took their flashlight or something and saw a blanket, whatever. But that just goes to show you, just when you want to give up, potentially, there's still hope. And there's still potential for those kind of tragic stories to potentially be solved.
I think that was her biological parents too, wasn't it?
I think it was custodians. Was it custodians?
I haven't read the story in its entirety.
Okay,
yet.
I do know the story, the details. There was another story too where they found somebody living in a wall.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah, but to Beckett's point and everyone's point here, send that stuff to me if you ever see that or if you're ever going through that. We'll do our. We will always put it on here, and I can always talk about it. What's on my mind on the KVJ show. So let me know. On a lighter note, let's do a little would you rather questions. Let's have a little fun here. Would you rather, Dennys, go to third base with a Yoda or E.T.?
Yoda.
And we all have different definitions of third base, I think.
Is it heavy petting?
Well, no, third base.
Oh, third base,
Third base in my
jeez.
world is a little bit
It's
everything
all
except
right.
sex.
Yeah, it's everything.
everything but sex. I thought third base was always oral.
That's everything but sex.
Yeah, I guess. But I thought.
Well,
So,
because
second base.
if you've already hit third, then you've already hit second.
But we never, Vicki. I apologize for the vulgarity here. We never really talk about fingering. Where is that in the? Is that
That's
second?
gotta be third
That's
base.
third
That's
base?
second.
See,
No, you're
this is
right,
why I
second,
bring this
yeah.
up. You say second, he says third.
I say third.
First is kissing. Second is that.
Look, Beckett, I'm not
right.
trying to cut you
No.
off here, but we all agree first is kissing. We all
Yeah.
that's hardcore making out. We got that.
Yeah.
I always grew up. Second base was getting on them titties,
Yeah, groping.
groping,
Heavy petting.
heavy
Yeah.
petting, sucking on the titties,
I don't
all
think
that.
counts as a base.
That's what second base is, Beckett.
I think that.
Finger. Is there a better term?
So what's third
I
then?
couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
I think that's second base. Third is oral.
Then where do you put titties in? Dude,
That's
grabbing
not really a sexual organ.
he
I'm
puts that in
I'm
first
not a
base.
boob guy. I'm not a boob guy. I don't even count that. If someone was bragging, I guess maybe when you're in middle school, but if someone's bragging
That's
that
what
they
this is
touched,
about, Beckett.
if someone's bragging about touching someone's boobs, I'd be like, let's lump that in as in between first and second.
Dennys, am I out of line to believe that second base is straight up titties? Is that, did you grow up in that time?
I thought it was heavy petting second base.
Vicky, is this a generational thing here?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Let's ask the
I
chat
thought you
room.
start French.
Let's ask the chat room.
Chat room.
Grabbing
Let us know what you. Well, everyone's got a different definition.
It's been a
of
long
what-
time since I've looked at the rules.
I think it's different for each.
I never
league.
got the rule book, but
Oh my gosh. We didn't even get to the question. We had to set the damn rules up. so for this
right.
particular question, we're talking all things oral here.
All right, I'm 96 in Yoda. I said it backwards because he talks backwards.
That's amazing. It's good stuff, Dennys. You're going Yoda.
Yeah.
Explain why over E.T.
E.T.'s kind of gross. He's like a weird gray blobby color, especially when he starts dying.
Slimy.
Yeah, he's got that long finger. You know he's gonna insert somewhere.
Well, Beckett.
The finger. I was actually Yoda until you brought up the finger. Now I'm conflicted.
Are you phoning home, dog?
I don't know. I think Yoda because he dropped some knowledge. I like more of like.
He's got way better pillow talk.
The bedroom, the
Yeah.
pillow talk's gonna
Yeah.
be nice,
Way better.
and also too probably the sex talk is gonna be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touch my dick, will you?
I think E.T. would be so gross.
And not a lazy lover. I think he is a dialed-in missionary. He's a missionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just nothing exciting about E.T. Lazy lover.
I think he's kind of a fuzzy. What do you call the people that like to dress up?
A furry?
A furry. I think he's a furry. He's always hiding in the stuffed animals.
Vicky, I
and Mac and Me, that guy too. That's another gross alien.
That's our third '80s reference movie.
Yeah.
Mac and Me. If you haven't seen that movie, don't.
Yeah.
Vicky, I hate to ask you this question. Yeah, I think we're all going Yoda, right? Chat room Yoda. All right. Would you rather climb a barbed wire fence every time you had to go to the bathroom, no matter what kind of bathroom it is?
Ugh.
You have to climb through it, Dennys. Or had to wrestle an alligator for 7 minutes every time you had to eat something?
Oh, every time I go to the bathroom. No, darn, I go so many times. I pee constantly.
Every time it's barbed wire.
Gosh, that sucks.
But then if you're hungry, if you eat one pretzel, you have to fight an alligator
that's
for
awful.
7 minutes.
Well, sometimes I'm lazy and I just want to eat something and lay.
And you never die with the alligator. The alligator's got softer teeth. It's enough to
Just suck.
fuck you up. You're always it's like barbed wire.
I'm going gator because I'll be in really good shape because I won't snack as much.
yeah. No, I'm going gator for the same
Yeah.
reason.
I'm gonna do the barbed wire. I'll figure it out.
I think I'm doing barbed wire. I don't want to fuck with no gator.
No.
I
You
love
get
to eat.
wet and hurt every time.
Yeah, I'd love to eat.
Yeah, you're gonna be wet and hurt when you have to
Yeah, I
pee
guess
come
you're-
through barbed wire.
Yeah, I'm gonna fall, get stuck, and then pee all over myself.
Do I eat more or pee more? I probably. Fuck,
I pee way more than darn. I might have to go darn alligator.
I think I gotta go alligator.
There you go.
Shit, I'm going gator.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right. Would you rather? Oh, here we go. Would you rather eat only human brains or eat only human hearts for the rest of your life?
Hearts, because I'll gain their courage. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna pick hearts because they look less gross than brains.
I don't know, man. I had a turkey heart one time for a bit we had to do, and it still has got me shook.
Well, I read somewhere that I think 60% of your brain is fat.
I like fat, I think.
So I
Ooh,
mean,
it's keto.
would that taste better?
It's all going to be about prepping and what you can put in it. And unfortunately, this is would you rather. There is no prepping.
Oh.
It's just brains and it's just heart.
You get salt.
You get natural salt from. That's it.
That's it.
You only get what you get. You get hearts every day. You get you get that microwave. That's it.
Oh, I will
Makes
eat
it
it
worse.
cold.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Cooking meat in a microwave is the worst thing you could possibly do.
Well, I don't think it'll ever cook.
It does, but it's like rubber band.
I'm glad you guys are kind of twisted on this one,
I'm
Vicky.
doing heart.
I'm doing brains.
I think I'm doing brain.
I'm doing brands.
Yeah, brain. I'll act like it's lasagna.
Ooh.
That makes it so much grosser.
Oh my god.
Sorry. It's would you rather. It's supposed to freak your mind. Have you guys heard this? This is Brian who sent us this email. Do you all know the alien sighting that went down during the Vietnam War? Both sides claim to have seen some type of alien / Bigfoot creature. Look into it. we've talked slightly about this. We have a clip. It's a little long. I may tell you to stop it halfway through, Jenny, because it is quite long, but I'll give you about 40 seconds of it.
In the midst of the firefight, one of the American soldiers suddenly notices a large, hulking figure, which he had assumed was a big bush, stand up and immediately flee across the battlefield. The creature is impressive, clearly at least 7 feet tall, and with a body that's pure muscle. Thick, matted fur, not fur, it's hair, covers the creature's entire body as it crosses the jungle in huge bounding steps. The American is in shock and briefly forgets all about the ongoing firefight. On the other side of the battlefield, there's an alarmed cry from the Viet Cong fighters, and the firing dies off briefly. Several American soldiers see the creature get struck by enemy fire, roar, but keep on going. The Viet Cong are in a near full panic now and begin to retreat, allowing the Americans to flee the ambush. As they searched, they made a grisly discovery. An enemy Viet Cong soldier lays dead, a frozen look of horror still on his face. The body has been mutilated, practically ripped apart, and there's not a single bullet wound on it. This encounter is not new to American forces operating out of Vietnam, though, and the locals quickly inform the soldiers that what they're encountering is a creature they have known for generations, the Batutut, Uze, or Noizum. In the midst...
Batutut. The Batutut, Dennys.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool? The reason why I like that story, if you guys are interested in that topic, there's some more stuff to kind of delve into. I guess there is a weird mystical creature out there that's always been, or mythical creature out there that's been out there for many, many years. And both sides saw it, and soldiers came back talking about that, and people chalked it up to, oh, they were on drugs, or it never, PTSD.
It seems like every region has a Bigfoot. Everywhere.
do.
Every single place has one.
Well, what was crazy about that story right there, they were saying this creature was jumping so high and at levels that humans couldn't do, animals couldn't jump. That's why they were all so taken
Blown
back
away
by
by
that.
it.
But imagine that you're in the middle of a fight and then you're dealing with some fucking beast.
Yeah. That'd be insane. It'd be like Predator.
It's like Lord of the Rings.
Now, dude, what do you guys think of that? Is that horse shit? Do you believe that when you hear it? What would you chalk that up? You being the lighthearted skeptic, Beckett, is there some kind of crazy werewolf flying around, or?
I think it's possible, but I also know that people in that kind of environment, like they're in some. We can't even fathom the kind of mindset and psychology that's going on in war, like Vietnam. So I don't know.
But I agree with what you're saying. But what I find to kind of support what they saw is this is something they came to found. This was folklore, or at least sightings. I don't know if I don't know if you would call it folklore if you really had a legit tangible sighting. You know that to be reality in your
Right.
heart.
Yeah.
So is it if people are saying it's out there, and then you've got Viet Cong saying that, then you've got people. It's crazy.
I think I could argue both sides, because I think that, there's been a lot of people that say that UFOs and aliens start to come when nuclear war and nuclear bombs were, so you have conflicts and it brings certain things out.
Mm-hmm.
And I could say on the other side, like the psychology of the trauma of it, so you could almost argue both sides, in my opinion.
Yeah, and everyone in the chat room is saying the same thing you're saying, but keep in mind, I get it. War, drugs, you could be seeing some stuff. But why were they seeing something, and then they find out after the fact that what they saw has been confirmed through many years, decades of sightings?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. It's a tricky slope.
I would
and-
say they saw something, but I think some of the attributes they gave it were probably exaggerated, like the big fish story. But they probably saw something unexplainable, but then, all of a sudden it's leaping,
Tall tale.
100 yards in the air and stuff like that.
I always like to do a little checklist, kind of, have we changed our perspective? I'm just going to go down the list real quick. We believe in ghosts, yes or no? Jason, my vote, yes, ghosts, I believe in. Dennys?
I'm on the fence about ghosts.
Gotcha, that's a no. Beckett?
It's on the fence.
I would say I'm not so sure about ghosts, but I'm coming more around to the idea of spirits. I know that's like kind of close cousins of each other, but
I mean, for the sake of argument, I'm talking
Yeah.
spirit ghosts. all
spirit
that.
ghosts. Okay, yeah. I think I'm open-minded to spirits.
Okay. Vicki, team spirit/ghost over here. What we're saying, okay? Aliens, yes for me.
Yeah, I have to think there's aliens out there. just because it's so vast. and
That
there's so
one's
many
you
odd
you
things.
double down on
That
that.
one you have to. Because I mean, we're aliens to another existence that's asking the same exact question. You know.
I love it. Beckett?
I would bet everything in my bank account that aliens exist. The only question I have in my mind is if sightings are actually them or not. But do they exist in our universe? I think 1,000% yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
If Beckett goes 1,000, I go with 10,000.
Always one up of me.
I believe it with all of my being that we are not the only creatures in the
yeah.
fucking universe.
Yep.
Okay. Zombies.
I don't believe in zombies.
No.
I do not, Vicky.
No.
Zombies are silly.
Yeah.
Angels?
I think that gets lumped into my spirits, yes.
Dennys?
I don't know if I believe so much in angels.
Sure.
You do? Is that a yes or is that you don't know?
From my upbringing, I would say yes. Have I seen one? No.
She's leaving the door open.
Yeah.
Mermaids.
No.
By the way, I believe in angels. I believe that's very possible. Now, is it the religious type of angel? I'm not over here saying that. Do I think that there's another level of something? Possibly. I'm open to that.
So would you consider an angel a hierarchy of spirit? Like it's a little bit more.
I don't know if I would even say it's got a higher. I don't know. Obviously, I would say it's got a different purpose for what it's there to do. But I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Mermaids. You said-
Mermaids, yeah.
I do not believe in mermaids.
Ever with that ocean being so vast.
No, man. I think pirates got horny, man. They seen some good-looking fish occasionally.
They jerked off the manatees.
I guarantee they jerked off to every sea creature.
Do you believe with that, with all your being, that there's no way pirates did not?
I imagine pirates did everything under the sun. And,
Everything just that would turn your stomach.
yeah, because I mean, there was no television, there was no iPods, there was no music. You
Without
had
a
to go
doubt.
somewhere to hear music.
I can only imagine a pirate voyage got real fucked up at times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're talking about the real evil pirates.
Laws were incredibly loose. I mean, I can only imagine the despicable things that occurred.
There's a lot of things that were loose.
We've got demons.
It's kind of the same category as angels for me.
It's almost hypocritical, but for some reason, knee-jerk answer, I'm less likely to believe in demons than I am angels. I don't know why.
I can see that.
I am
I
too,
can
because
totally see that.
I think you want to be positive, and I think giving into darkness, it's kind of focusing more on the negative. And I also think I don't like when people use it as an excuse for their bad behavior. Oh, I've got a devil darkness about me.
If
It's
I had
not
to
my fault.
if I have to put my finger on it, I guess the way, maybe it's partly because I was raised Christian, although I'm not super religious now. That's kind of my background, but I guess I do think of it as a hierarchy, and it's kind of like when you graduate to an adult, you hope and expect that certain things that exist as a kid don't exist in adulthood. I expect in the spirit world that you don't have to deal with all that crap.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh my gosh, he's rolling over in his grave. Well, if he's in a good place, or if she's in a good place, then they'd probably be laughing about this, no?
I'm being cheeky, but imagine you get to heaven and someone's trolling me on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I
Yeah.
just didn't think that was going to exist here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Vicky, can once you cross to the other side, you have enlightenment. Can you still get pissy?
Of course, you're still human.
In heaven, can you get pissy?
I think so. You're
Really?
still
You-
human.
You have bad days in heaven?
Yeah, I guess
I
you're
would
still
say so.
human. That's
Are
the
you
thing.
human in heaven?
I mean, you have the spirit, the essence, your soul.
But I thought you
Your
were able.
spirit's there, but are you human?
I thought shit rolled off your back, and Elvis is playing every.
You're less
noon-
you're less
at noon.
likely to get ticked off, on the other side. But like I've seen spirits here in visitation, and they get grumpy.
But spirits, I guess. So to Beckett's point, I'm kind of answering my own question as we talk. There is a hierarchy, perhaps, because if angels, I'm assuming, and this is just for the heaven conversation part of it. I associate angels with heaven, so yeah. To me, I always believe if you're in heaven, you ain't letting shit get to you.
you graduate
You're
from
playing
that.
bridge.
Yeah.
You're
with all,
graduating from
like
that
you're whatever best version you want to be. Like if you like yourself at 32 and you like to go,
Yeah.
play bridge. But what if you like to fish? Isn't that kind of fucked up for the fish? I don't know. It's a loaded question.
Yeah, you're right. Everything's infinitely good, but I mean, everybody would have to have their own perception of what it is.
Like what I've been shown is that I call it the other side now. I don't call it heaven.
Okay.
But remember, there's those people that get stuck in those classrooms because they didn't learn what they were supposed to here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're in air quote heaven classrooms, then no, it's not heavenly. Because they're learning, they're trying to learn.
Yeah, I guess I'm more caught up on the pearly,
right?
You know, all the buzzwords you learn growing up with heaven and all that. Yeah. Well, y'all, I think we gave you a little bit of extra time because we fucked up the beginning. Not our fault. Blame the spirits,
There's
y'all.
still other people in the other chat room waiting for us.
Oh.
Full moon.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening and being with us. We had great fun with y'all. It is a full moon tonight, so, you know. Didn't you say your daughter's getting into this full moon stuff?
Well, she's getting into crystals and herbs, and she bought her first little cauldron that I had to season in the oven the other day for an hour.
How fun is that, though?
Yeah. Well, I told her, I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with getting a big giant one for the front porch. Maybe it'll keep solicitors away.
That's awesome.
I
Throw
love
bones
it.
in it.
Yeah.
I got all these witches kind of around my life now.
But
I need good witches to battle the bad witches that keep emailing me.
But I think everything, like I told her when she started this, everything is all about your intent. And as long as your intent is good, then, hey, the other day she ground up some lavender and some rose, and then she put it in her little cauldron, and, you know, we were on the front porch, and it smelled really good, and, you know.
Hey.
You find a voodoo doll in her room with, obviously, the voodoo poker.
Yeah, that's typically associated with ill intent. So,
Do you have a talk with her at that point?
Oh yeah, at that point. But
and what if she comes back with, Mom, let me live my own life?
Then she can live it outside my house.
Damn, Vicki, I love
Vacate the good room and leave.
Rent sucks.
That is rent sucks.
It does.
All of a sudden, I'm not into voodoo anymore.
But yeah, we totally want to get together with Jen.
Yeah, Jen's been into
and
it
see
too.
what she's learning, and I'm all about learning new stuff. And
we should have a little party, a little crystal.
Yeah.
I don't know, warlock, witches, fucking just let's get weird party.
Yeah, tell her to make some brew we can drink.
Yeah. There you go.
I love it. Well, if you guys have any questions, always email us. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys have a weird week. We love you all, and
Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens? Well, you should be, 'cause aliens want to